Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
You don't see the curvature of the Earth. That stuff is flat.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye-bye, moon man and rover. NASA so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead, but your ball is. GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead, but your ball is. Get the shovel for the space hubble, piecing up the puzzle. Need a burst your bubble, evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down, be humble, got the ball, you better fumble. You'll get mad, cause at this fight involves your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Arrows slaying Jesuits and Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your resident is heavens and I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Bye-bye, moon man and rover. NASA so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead, but your ball is. GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead, but your ball is.
Inner World Productions. Welcome to GLOBEBUSTERS. I just realized I did not have my mic muted, I don't think, but all right, cool. So, episode 16, season 11, Battle of the Beams should be a good one. Complete obliteration of the heliocentric model, as far as I have heard. I am interested in it myself, so should be a very good show. Get a little housekeeping out of the way. We are streaming on X for the first time, so if you're on X, make sure you go share it, help us get some eyes on the new GLOBEBUSTERS profile. And we are on, of course, YouTube, and then Rumble and Rockfin. And that is GLOBEBUSTERS on all platforms. It's at the GLOBEBUSTERS on X. If you want to support the stream, you can go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/GLOBEBUSTERS. All right, cool. So cool. Let's introduce today's panel. First up, we have my boy Zack from Good Times for All. How's it going, brother?
Not too bad. Had a little cold this week. Cold sweats and all that kind of good stuff, and then the runny nose for a couple days. And then I got stung by a caterpillar. You ever been stung by a caterpillar before?
No.
Yeah, it was crazy. This little tiny, it was probably no longer than an inch long, and I was trimming up the neighbor's hedges for her. And I grabbed one of them and just went to go pull on it. And when I did, I got it trapped between two of my fingers, and this thing's got hundreds of little needles all over its body. And it lit me up inside my pinky and my ring finger on my right hand. Man, and it felt about as painful as a broken finger, but in a bunch of spots because it stuck me a bunch of times. And it lasted about 4 hours. The pain didn't go away for about 4 hours unless I kept ice on it. As soon as I take the ice away, it would start just throbbing again. It was amazing. That little tiny thing did that. But they're not poisonous or anything like that. It just, a little bit of local swelling sometimes. But my hands are pretty rough, so it didn't do too much damage. But yeah, just a really weird thing. I'd never been stung by a caterpillar before.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing. Nice. Well, I'm glad you survived, man.
Yeah. Cami was making jokes about it. She sent a picture to someone saying, Zack got stung and we're hoping that he survives. Yeah.
Funny. And we have a special guest this week. Many of you guys are familiar with him and his work, but if you're not, I encourage you to check it out. And that is Alan from Space Audits. What's up, brother?
Yo, what's up, brother? Going good, man. Just came across a new flat Earth tool.
That's Jeran. Jeran did that. I didn't. Sorry.
Respect. Welcome, Jeran. Or the ghost of Jeran. But yeah, I just came across this new subject. Well, an old subject, but we're going to be retouching on it. So I'll let you finish out the intro, and then we'll get into it, man. I'm super excited. It's never been more flat, boys.
I'm interested.
How was your week? There, Austin?
It was good, man. It was good. You know, just busy home life nowadays. But we're getting things kind of smoothed out there. And had a really controversial guest on this week. Brother Nathaniel. Yeah. And we might do a follow up with him. I have another really going to be a really interesting stream to hear a different perspective on all that. A very different perspective. To kind of balance things out this week. And I was supposed to talk to Duffy this week, but he had something come up. So that should be this upcoming week. And I have a debate tonight. Geocentrism versus heliocentrism, modern day debate, 9 p.m. So yeah, a lot of this stuff kind of got pushed from this last week for me content-wise, but no shortage of things to do, that's for sure. But, yeah, it was good, man. All right.
And we'll definitely have a watch party over on Ethercos Discord for the debate tonight. That's awesome.
There you go, Ether Cosmology on Discord. All right. Jeran may pop in a little bit. And I was saying that Jeran did that, meaning that sound effect. I don't even know how to take it off. I'll see if I can. But yeah, cool. In the meantime, we will move on. And I am not familiar with this. I have heard this term, this phrase, a few times. But I've been a bit out of the loop in a way. And I am gonna learn with you guys whatever this is about, so it should be interesting. And do you guys have anything else, or we can just jump right into it?
Well, real quick, over on Rockfin already, Plum Level Square Bob started us off with a $5 tip saying he's got 5 on it. Thank you, buyer. Or Plum Level Square Bear, not Bob. Excuse me. I was thinking Plum Bob. Plum Level Square Bear over on Rockfin. Thank you, sir.
Nice. And while we're at it, we did also get we got a generous $50 from Glinda Safkin on Ko-fi. So thank you so much. Glinda got us a fourth of the way to the goal off the rip. So that is very cool. So shout out to Glinda. Thank you so much.
Much love. Thank you.
And we will stay up to date with the donations. We'll probably just periodically read whatever we've missed up to that point so we don't interrupt any presentation. All right, cool. So, Alan, do you want to kind of give a general synopsis or idea of it, or would you rather kind of do that in the form of the presentation? Whatever you want to do, bro.
Yeah, 1 second.
How dare you? Is that a time dilated second or?
Yeah, nope. It was a standard 1 second. Oh no.
Yeah, that's whenever we get a Ko-fi that's making that noise.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I keep taking it off, and then he goes and puts another one.
Gotcha. Okay, no worries. So yeah, just play Taboo's video. We'll let Taboo introduce us in. He's the one that originally put this forward as an argument. I saw this years ago, but then like the significance gets lost. You forget about it, whatever. You fall asleep on it, and then you see, like, I don't know what brought it back to the forefront, but anyway, it's a really great proof. And then I started looking into it a little bit, doing my thing, and I found some additional stuff. So I added to it and made a video on it, and somebody commented and gave some pushback on it, So I was like, okay, let me look a little further into it. And it destroys the globe, guys. It's irrefutable. So I'll let Ben lead us in, and shout out to you, man. Much appreciated for all the work you do, and you're just much appreciated, dude. This is gonna be great. So whenever you can play that, and then after that, I'll screen share and walk us through the prez.
Okay, very cool. Let me set that up real quick. Here we go. All right, so
Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. There's a new one that I put. Although definitely watch that one. The one that he just put out is very complimentary to this and heavily related. And he actually gives a little truncated recap. So definitely check out his new video because dude, this is great. So yeah, the old 4-minute one, he can lead us in and then I'll take over.
okay, let me make sure you guys can hear as well. Okay, you guys should be seeing the video in Skype.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let's take it away. All right, here we go.
For the start of World War II, German scientists developed a blind landing navigation system for aircraft. Essentially, aircraft tuned in to a certain frequency would know the location of the center of the runway by using a radio beacon as a guide. After World War II broke out, German military scientists soon realized that the same technology could enable German bombers to locate specific targets in England even in the darkest of nights. This secret system was called Knickebein. In short, the radio beam from a single transmitter would guide the German bombers on a line towards the target, but one beam could not tell the bomber when they were over the target. A second transmitter was set up so its beam crossed over the target, indicating when the airplanes should drop the bombs. British intelligence, led by R.V. Jones, slowly became aware that such bombing beams may have existed, and presented the information to Frederick Lindemann, Winston Churchill's leading science advisor. But Lindemann and others said such a targeting system would be impossible, because the supposed curvature of the Earth would block the high-frequency beams, because VHF waves do not even allegedly bend around the curvature of the Earth.
Dr. Jones took the message to Professor Lindemann, his old tutor and now scientific advisor to Winston Churchill, and tried to persuade him of the serious threat posed by the Knickebein beams. But Lindemann was not convinced, pointing out that at the high frequencies necessary for an accurate beam, the curvature of the Earth would prevent its being directed against targets in Britain.
Lindemann was conceptually and mathematically right. VHF beams would require a direct line of sight with the German bombers, and England was simply too far away. The first of these Knickebein transmitters was set up on Stolberg Hill near Denmark. Another transmitter was set up at Kleve in western Germany. Stolberg Hill was located 443 miles away from Derby, England. The hill was only 142 feet high, and the transmitter was 152 feet high for a combined height of 294 feet. Based on the globe math, the Earth's curvature would hide 118,425 feet. The other transmitter was in Kleve. It only has an elevation of 39 feet combined with a 100-foot tower. 139-foot height with a distance of 331 miles means that the curvature of the Earth would hide 66,722 feet. In other words, under the globe, a German bomber would need to be higher than 118,425 feet to be within the line of sight of the Knickebein system. But the maximum cruising altitude of a German bomber was only 19,200 feet. Without question, it was impossible under the globe for those German bombers to be within line of sight of the Knickebein towers. But Knickebein did work, and English lives were lost as Churchill's scientific advisors couldn't believe in the VHF Knickebein system when the Earth's curvature should have made it impossible. Very high frequency requires a direct line of sight. Wikipedia confirms the same as it reads, as the transmitters were more or less in line of sight to high-altitude bombers. This article here confirms it as well. But as I just showed, Wikipedia lied, as German bombers would have been nearly 100,000 feet below the globe's geometric horizon and certainly not within line of sight of the towers. There you have it. Only under the Flat Earth model could the Knickebein system work, and the globe propagandists have no counter-argument but to lie and claim that the bombers were somehow in line of sight of the Knickebein towers when that would have been mathematically impossible. German bombing beams proved there is no Earth curvature.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. All right. All right. I think we got everything smooth.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah. So he went over the math and all that. So this isn't disputed by the globularists or anything. We're going to look at the refutation attempts here in a second. But just a quick recap. I'm screen sharing now if you're able to show that.
Yes, we are showing it. I'll get it all set up and pretty, but we're good right now.
Okay, cool. I put a couple of links in the chat to my Obsidian database. I got one similar to Shane's. So the sources and source material and stuff will be there if you guys need to reference this. These are all just rough notes, so it'll be organized into a formal presentation later that you'll be able to just read off as a PDF to articulate this. But anyway, so let's give a little overview here. We got Stolberg and Cleve. These two places had radio antennas that were horizontally propagating radio transmissions that intersected over Derby, England, right? So they were using the lat long coordinate system, the old graticule to intersect beams horizontally. 410 miles, I think Stolberg was, and then Cleve was 300 something, 450 miles for Stolberg and 350 for Cleve. And then they intersect over at Derby, right? So Ben already went over all the math, so we're good on that. Now, what's put forward as an explanation by the globularist so far that I've seen was by Dave McKeegan. And Dave McKeegan, if you are out there watching, you are formally invited to come and discuss this. We don't have to argue or yell or anything crazy, but it's open invitation. So anyway, the argument he makes here is that there's diffraction, that simply the radio waves diffract. Now, we already touched over or gave an overview of how the radio wave system works itself. This beam that's going out to intersect will tell you if you're to the right or to the left of it. And when you're in the direct center of it, you'll get little beeps or you'll get long beeps if you're left or right. And then if you're in the center, you'll get a constant tone. So when they had the other beam that would intersect with that at a lower frequency, when they got both of those continuous pulses, that meant that they were over target, right? So the argument of diffraction would look like this. They would have the beam that starts out, because we know the wavelengths, we know all the technical specs of this, of how it worked, right? So the beam starting out at 10 millimeters, right, would go out diffracting. Oops, I need to make this bigger, sorry. Would go out diffracting. And remember, so the red, blue, and green represent if you're left of it or right of it, or if you're in the center when you're going to hear those pulses. So keep in mind this navigation system works off of pulses and time intervals with the mechanical clock system on board the plane as well. So it has to maintain a constant pulse rate to know where it's at. Otherwise, it's not going to. You're not going to be able to use it. The point of it wasn't to have like skip zones or places of blind spots, right? This has a direct line of sight usage. It's not like in the Wikipedia, it says this is more or less line of sight. No. Direct line of sight. So anyway, we're starting off with our 10 millimeter beam going out, right? As it's propagating out over the globe, it's somehow going to have to maintain compression to be a straight beam in order to be used. And then it's going to, continue out diffracting, right? Well, we know, so what he's invoking here with his video, you can watch, I'm not going to play it because for copyrights or whatever, but it's pretty lengthy. But the argument he's making is just indiscriminate diffraction, right? It's just diffraction all over the place. The left of center beam and the right of center signal are all just diffracting, but it somehow produces a coherent beam that's used for navigation. Now this isn't possible because when we get into the specifics of the target range, we know that the length of the beam was 450 yards wide. So after this intersection point is 450 yards wide. So that's the exact amount of diffraction that came from this 10 millimeter wave to end up here, right? So it's not indiscriminate diffraction. This explanation isn't tenable. It has to be.
Diffraction is very, precise.
Yeah, this is an untenable position. It would not maintain the wave structure needed to be useful. Right. And by the time it got out to here, it would be incoherent and unusable because at this intersection point, to be accurate, it has to be, within a couple hundred yards. And so think about this, right? Being left of center and right of center of these beams, of 400 yards wide. That means that if you break that into 3 sections, right, into thirds, because you want to be in the middle of it for the coherent pulse, that coherent stream, so that you know where you're at. The maximum length of that's going to be like 250 yards. So if that's 200, so dude, the amount of precision at this distance for 250 yards to hit the Derby Rolls-Royce factory, right? They targeted a structure that was being used to manufacture engines for planes, right? Successful target, but done at night, based off of this line of sight. There's no way to explain this using diffraction. It is not possible. We know the exact amount. It's documented in the source material. So that guy, actually, I'm not. If you watch the video Secret War, like if you can listen to the interview from this guy R.V. Jones and what he was arguing and all this and how it went down. What he was saying, like they don't even argue, like the actual steelman of what happened, like the actual historical facts of this situation, right? It's not even like a diffraction situation, right? This is an ad hoc explanation that I think someone misinterpreted and gave too much good faith to the globe to provide a constant coherent beam to provide the accuracy needed for this weapon system to be useful. But so what actually happened here was he's referencing, this R.V. Jones guy is referencing Eckersley's paper on how it might be possible that this radio wave system might work, right? And so we go to Eckersley's paper, and this is from a couple years prior to this whole situation. And look at, so this dotted line in the center here is your attenuation layer, and this solid line is the beam. So this is to maintain a coherent beam that's useful for the purposes of navigation, right? So you would have skip zones, right? We're all familiar with this bouncing. So the plane would take off, it would have some signal here, it would have some signal here, and then globularity separation would happen, it would have nothing. It would be flying completely blind. And then it would pick up a signal right here, be like, okay, boys, we might be right here. And then it would keep going. That's not how this weapon system functioned. And argumentatively, the guy that wrote this was like, yeah, dude, this wouldn't even work. This isn't possible of how it would actually work or whatever, right? This isn't the actual position. And because it's a literal coherent beam that has to maintain this. So that's why they say it doesn't work. It's not an issue of diffraction creating and maintaining a coherent beam as it diffracts out, and the plane is still able to use it by the time it gets here, when we know the maximum amount of diffraction it experienced was 400 to 500 yards, dog. That's GG. There's no other way to interpret this other than it's a horizontal propagation. Now, I've seen people say, oh, well, maybe if you tilt it to the sky and it's angled, well, let's look at the structure of the system here. This is fixed horizontally and it rotates around a track. If this doesn't tilt up and down at 35 degrees or anything like that, it's this part of it's fixed. It's not how it works. Now, when we get into the beam, right? Because some people will, it's an omnidirectional beam and it's diffracting. No. You've forgotten what a beam is, my boy. It's not how beams work. This is what they came up with a specific way to cancel out like an omnidirectional beam and turn it into a coherent beam. So this path here, right, at its maximum dimension of diffraction is 400 yards over target, coming from a distance of 451 miles. It's a 451 mile horizontal propagation, accurate to
they were doing this in the 40s, accurate
up to 250 meters to drop bombs, dog. Wow. They smoked that Rolls-Royce factory.
That's genius,
dude. And this is just a reversal of the way that they already had it designed for blind landings, because the system like this already existed, but on the inverse, for when you're coming into land, it would tell you if you're off left or right. All they did was just reverse it. And this was proposed by the British like a year or two prior, and they rejected it because Earth curve. They literally hinged the safety of their country on ball Earth, and they got smoked. There's no way that this weapon system could function unless it was a straight horizontal line of sight propagation.
And the cope is the cope is ridiculous anyway. If you were to pretend that the diffraction was tenable, which I think Alan just pretty clearly laid out, it's not. And you were right. This is going to be something I'm going to talk a lot about. You knew it, but obviously I'm going to start beating people over the head with this. But real fast, the idea that it's diffraction, right, is such a ridiculous, desperate, religious response because it's like, oh, they just got lucky. That's what you're saying. Even if it were allegedly diffraction, right? You're saying that they just got lucky, and they just happened to diffract the right way, so that they could use it as if it wasn't diffracting.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, it's completely untenable. It's not even the position that was even put forward originally, like the actual understanding of the issue at hand. Like when lives are on the line and you're not just theorizing about what it could possibly be. They literally thought it would create skip zones, and it wasn't possible. That's game over. It's line of sight all the way.
Yikes.
But yeah, you can check out the full video. I put it on my channel, but it got like auto censored or whatever, clipped out. So some of it had to get clipped out. But if you check the description in that video, all the links to the versions that are unedited are out there. So you can use this as a landing pad. You have all the links available, and that has the links to Ether Cause and all the sources, because I uploaded all the books and everything associated with this. So everybody can have the information and use it accordingly. Or, maybe we're wrong. Maybe in here there's some globe and we missed it. And you will have ample resources to you have the same resources we did. So yeah.
Oh, bro, this is where the conversation ends for the Globers. They'll just stick at level 1 argument, they'll all mass adopt it, and then pretend that this specific refutation doesn't exist. I mean,
dude, it will exist, dude. This is my new go-to, and this is insane. And the fact that they twisted it so bad in the story, they're like, oh, well, he thought it wouldn't work, and then I convinced him that it did. Yeah, dude.
Nail in the coffin.
Certainly seems that way. Yikes.
This is the stuff they cannot refute. These are things that, people in the technology sector that are working with microwaves and stuff like that, they understand this stuff very well. And those are the people, that we want to hear this kind of stuff. So if you know anybody out there that has work in, these areas, radio waves, satellite stuff, any type of, even the guys doing the dish TV stuff, they have to have some kind of idea about, radio waves and whatnot. They get a short training session on it. So these are the people we want you guys sharing this stuff with. Find people out there that can understand some of this stuff. And really, ask them, hey, look at what these guys are saying. Is this true? And those are those seeds that, yeah. I mean, I've done it with a nuclear engineer for the Navy. He was on a submarine. Really smart guy. And it was just the Earth curvature one. But these people that understand math and things like that, and they look at it, and it will not make sense to them. So yeah, that's amazing, Alan.
I think you said it. You probably said it. I don't know, but what were the frequencies?
It was 30 megahertz.
Okay. And you're saying that Britain originally turned down this proposal because of Earth curvature?
Yep. Yeah, the guy even mentions it in his interview. He's like, they proposed it a few years earlier, but they were like, they rejected it under the premise of Earth curve.
Do you want to go back over exactly? I'm reading the chat. I want to make sure that everyone's following you.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
Obviously the basic is that everyone knows what diffraction is, right? It's just the idea something's obstructing the wave, and then it basically separates it, splits it. it starts to
Yep,
send it in
here's
different directions and it becomes less coherent.
Here's a great example of diffraction from Dave McKeegan's video where he's showing how you can listen to the radio in your car if the signal's being obstructed by a hill, right? Because the signal will just diffract out, so it'll just spread. After it hits, it'll just make a new beam and start spreading out. Now, what Witsit's talking about, how it's going to be incoherent or different, right? So this is for radio waves, right? This isn't for landing a plane. This isn't for accuracy. This isn't sending multiple signals out that's telling you if you're left or right or center of the beam. So the usefulness here isn't exactly applicable, but this is what he's trying to attribute as the explanation, because this is an actual phenomenon, right? Diffraction. Right. But the reason it's not applicable here is because it's the way that this works is that for accuracy and coherency must be maintained so that you know if you're left of center or right of center. Because if this diffracts out and splits, well, you're not going to get the bottom half of that right of center beam, right? You're just going to have your maybe you'll get the middle half and the left of center, right? If you're lucky. So that's why that's not applicable as an explanation, but yeah, this is what it would look like. This is what they're putting forward as the explanation, or what he put forward, and anyone that agrees with it.
Okay, and so because this is I didn't know all these details exactly. So they send these beams out to intersect effectively, right? And then based on the exactly what you receive, if it's like a consistent singular sound, or if it's like little beeps, basically. If the little beeps, you're gonna know it's not dead center. It's to your left or right. And so it's actually gonna narrow down exactly where you are in relation to the beam.
Yep, it provides your absolute location at that intersection point. So just the normal beam, right? Like you can tell where you're at roughly when you're in the center based off of the signal sent, because you're only going to hear that straight pulse. And then at the intersection point, they have another system doing the same thing, but at a lower frequency. So when you hear two coherent pulses together, you know that you're within 200 meters of your target. Just start dropping bombs, dog. You're it. That's how the whole thing worked. It's a timing interval system, and they had a mechanical apparatus on the plane that's keeping track of these signals. So it's all based, like, it's literally a time interval system that has to be line of sight. The whole functionality of it is line of sight to give that accuracy. So in other words, the diffraction is utilized, right? That wavelength was specifically chosen because at that distance, if it intersects with another beam, it's going to provide a 250 meter area where you can drop bombs and over a target. So they dialed this in using the graticule. You guys remember the graticule? All maps, any maps, Mercator, Gleason, if it has lat longs on it, guess what? It's using a graticule. And the graticule, they say, is explicit to sphericity, right? But we say that, the fundamental plane, that bisecting meridian, is just what it is, and all the curvature is optical, et cetera, right? Built off of that. But anyway, so the distinction between those two models would be, for example, if you could, I don't know, dial in a 450-mile airstrike using horizontal propagation of radio waves that intersect at 250 meters to give for their given diffraction over that distance, to be directly line of sight, to utilize the natural phenomenon of diffraction horizontally to hit a target 450 miles away. GG.
That's wow. And that's crazy to think too. I mean, as accurate as that is, it's still, I'm sure they dropped bombs in places they really didn't want to or didn't mean to.
No, dude, they built a whole city to run this for the infrastructure for this. Like it had guard towers, outposts. It was like a little mini city up here.
Yeah, they do. When it came to their military,
they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, they were the top criminals. They were like the United States is today, kind of. The Nazis back then. super advanced, the stuff they were working on. Wow, all the specs and schematics and everything. This is awesome, dude.
If anyone has
Yeah,
any
and then
questions
there's-
specific to the presentation for Alan, tag at GLOBEBUSTERS in any of the chats. I'll keep an eye on them, and we'll ask them. Specific to the presentation, though, please. Sorry. Like, I know I want people to, I would prefer that we stick on this a little bit, even if it gets somewhat reiterative. Because I remember when I was trying to kind of present my radio wave and microwave arguments, I was losing people a lot. So, but people are just unfamiliar with a lot of the general premise.
Yeah, so the horizontal propagation creates a coherent beam that as it gets further away from the source, it spreads out. But the wavelength that they chose is, that expansion is at a predictable rate. So that at a distance of 450 miles, that it'll only expand, 400 to 500 yards. And then within that signal propagation, there's 3 sections that are created through different pulses that are sent. And within that 500-yard range, you can actually tell if you're within a 250-yard range, to be even more precise. So they have cross beams of that same system that intersect at a point where it creates an exact area of 250 yards for that intersection point. So as long as you know the lat long coordinate system, and that'll give you the distance, you'll know how much your beams will diffract based off of their wavelengths in normal, atmospheric conditions. And based off of that, you can determine the accuracy of your weapon system. Like, because if you go further than this, it's going to be, it'll be 600 and then it'll be less accurate, right? So then you have to trade off, like, is this going to be, because we're shooting in the dark here, is it going to be worth it to try and hit a target at this? If it's this expanded and then this diffracted, it wouldn't work. So the only way that this works is if it can consistently be used repeatedly to produce the same results, and if it's going to be accurate over the same area. Like, it's not going to change much. Like, there's not going to be a magic layer or something like that that's going to cause incoherency in the beam, because the whole time the plane has to fly in the middle of this signal to hear that coherent pulse to know where it's at. They're flying in the dark. Sky's dark. Everything's dark. Everything on the beaches of London, all this is all fortified. They've got, they got their signals and stuff going. So they're trying to fly, high and quiet, low, not making any noise, no lights, keeping it low key, so there's no room for to tell where you're at or any other reference points. You have to use this navigation system, and it has, the accuracy of it depends on it. Your ability to do your job depends on it. You wouldn't be able to hit a target if it didn't work.
What was the height of the tower?
Work. Ooh, let me see. I forget off the top of my head. It was observer height 660 feet. Yeah, so if you take their elevation at sea level and then add 200 feet for the tower to be generous, I think the tower was like 150, but we rounded up. PZO gave him some benefit of the doubt numbers. And it's devastating.
What is it exactly? I can't really
600.
see.
Yeah, I got you. 656 feet for the tower in Stolberg. So for the big one, the 451 mile, 656 feet is their observer height. So that signal's being sent from 656 feet.
You're saying that's accounting for elevation?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then it was 450 miles, that we said?
Yep.
So then it should have been hitting the Earth curve at like 30 miles or something?
The hidden should be about 100,000 feet, 96,000 feet.
But the horizon itself should be like maybe 36 miles away, right? Like if you're 600 feet up and you try to shoot a beam out, you're going to hit the curve of the Earth at a certain distance, right? And that distance is what? I think I think like 30 miles, right?
31.64283 miles.
Okay, so let's walk through it like this. This idea that it would have gone out. So we've already addressed the idea that they were tilting it up or down, which doesn't change anything anyway. If you tilt it down, it's going to hit the curve earlier. If you hit it up, it's going to go to the sky. But the idea is that if you tilt it up enough, that it would spread wide enough. Well, that's been specifically addressed by pointing out that it has a maximum divergence of roughly 400 to 500 yards with that frequency at the distance of 450 miles. Wait, I'm good so far?
Nailing it, brother.
Nice. Okay, and so then we shoot out this signal. They're trying to say that it was tilted, but he pointed out that no, it actually turns on a track. It doesn't tilt back and forth anyway. Even if it didn't matter. We just pointed out how that wouldn't help you. So then you're going to shoot it out straight out on a globe at 600-ish feet up, and then the Earth's curvature is going to be at 30 or so miles away. You're trying to aim at a target 450 miles away. So they're saying that it hits the Earth curve at that 30-mile mark, and then it diffracts. And of course, meaning that the bottom portion of the beam gets blocked, but then the top portion that's still above the Earth curve continues out, and then it fills in the gap behind it. So I'm trying to think of the simplest way to make people understand it. Okay.
No, you're nailing it. You're doing diffraction.
Diffraction, yeah, okay. And then explain in your words, and then maybe I'll do it as well. I don't know, but so at this point we shoot real quick recap. We shoot out line of sight horizontal propagation from a tower roughly 660 feet up, accounting for the elevation above sea level. It shoots it out straight line of sight, horizontal. And then based on the Earth curvature math, it's going to hit the curvature of the Earth at roughly 30 miles. And they're claiming, I guess McKeegan is claiming that it is diffracted. So again, the bottom portion of that beam will be blocked by the Earth curvature, but the top will continue past it and then fill in the gap behind it. And explain why that wouldn't actually explain how it worked.
Okay, so with the range of accuracy for the being left of center and right of center, it's not going to reproduce in the same way. Once that gets diffracted out, it's not going to be like it. If it gets blocked out, it's not going to just magically come back, right? And then that's not even what happened, because it keeps a coherency of 450 meter or 450 yards at 450 miles. So
it's more like a laser than a light source.
Yeah, so it's like...
wait, what? It's more like a laser than a light source?
Well, yeah, more like a laser than just like a light bulb. It's shooting
exactly.
a pencil beam more.
Exactly, yeah. The reasoning behind that, right, is like it's a coherent beam, essentially, with three... Let me see if I can find the diagram. The signal that they made here. Right, by using magnets and canceling out dipoles and stuff I don't fully understand yet, they turned an omnidirectional signal specifically into a coherent beam that they can use that has an equisignal in the middle, they call it, and then the dash zones are left or right of it. So you have your dash zone and your Morse zone, which are dots and dashes, and then when you're in the center, you have that coherent beam. So if you're going to kind of claim diffraction over curvature, right? Some of the bottom half of this is going to get taken out, and it's not going to work, right? If any of this, it's
Nicobene. Nicobon. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's
yeah. I mean, and the fact that it kept 200 or 450 yards of coherency, I mean, that completely refutes like Earth curvature bouncing and recreating it or whatever, like entirely. It's not even in the range of possibility. It's
now these were using very high frequencies, right? What did they use? Do you know on the Sparrow missile defense system?
I have no idea.
No, but I think this wasn't like an obnoxiously high frequency, right? He said 34 megabits. Is that right?
Yeah, it's like 30.
Yeah. So that is because it's interesting. I'm just trying to. Obviously, there's going to be so much cope that goes on, but I think that
mean,
was
it's good. I hope it does, because it'll lead to, you know, more looking into it, I guess, right? Because the only reason I looked into it more is because people were strongly like, this has been thoroughly refuted, why are you bringing this up? And I was like, oh, word, I didn't know, let me take a gander here. So like, I welcome anyone to put forward a globular explanation for it. Have at it.
I did tell McKeegan to jump on, but we all know that's not going to happen. Pre-recorded scripted videos where you tactically strawman and omit the specific refutations of your point are much easier.
Unlucky.
If you have X, go tag him. Go tag him on the live stream on GLOBEBUSTERS X. Be like, yeah, man, come on, explain it to us, man. Help us see the light. Pun intended.
So like, just to be clear, right? It's 652 meters above the ground, and the maximum divergence it experiences at 450 miles is 450 yards.
So it's meters, 650 meters.
Oh, I'm sorry, meters. Sorry, 400 meters. So
Wait. Is it 650 feet above or 650 meters above the ground?
Feet.
Feet, yeah.
And the beam divergence is in what was it?
Yards.
In yards. Yeah, yards. So, like, come on. How is that even an Earth curve thing? That's crazy. It's crazy to even claim that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny too because like sorry, I've been close to the mic, but you know, I always say if it came down to money, if it ever comes down to money or people's lives, the Earth is flat real quick. Like
Super quick.
Every time.
They adjusted real quick, dude. So there was opposition to this, obviously, right? And he goes on in the interview, this RV Jones guy, he's like, listen, once we realized what was going on, like Winston Churchill had to tell everyone, like, if anyone deviates from trying to figure out this signal thing, you know, have them report directly to me. Because everyone was like, dude, what? Earth curve's going to block it. This isn't real. This is a hoax.
Wait, he said what?
Oh, like people were, you know, when they were presenting this before, like as a weapon system, it was rejected because of Earth curvature. So when he was proposing this as a reason, or when he was proposing that the Germans had some radar system that they were using, everyone was like, no, Earth curvature would block this. So
he was like, stop bringing it up. He told people to stop.
Yeah, he was. No. He was trying to get like an operation off the ground where they would go and send planes to search for the signal. Right, that's what they ended up doing because that's how they found the maximum beam divergence of 450 yards, or 400 yards to 400 to 500. But anyway, when he finally convinced that Lindemann guy, which was Churchill's advisor, Churchill made the executive order, like, anyone that deviates from trying to find these beams, have them report directly to me, because people didn't want to look into it because they thought it was a waste of time because they all believed the ball would protect them.
Right.
So like to add to what you were saying, when lives were on the line, it was like just do what I say, don't question it.
Yeah, know? Churchill had to explain to him, just treat it like it's flat and motionless. Just try
like,
it.
If anyone gives you opposition, just tell them to talk to me. Because that's what the opposition was about. Like, people were like, you know, it's a ball. It couldn't possibly work. Right? My dude was drawing skip zone lines. He was like, this was 3 years prior. He's like, this is DS. It wouldn't work. This is why they thought it wouldn't work. It's like literally impossible for them.
The Germans knew what's up. So you heard it here first. Well, the reason that we actually fought Germany was they provided irrefutable proof that the Earth is flat. It's funny because this has always been one of my favorite arguments, just anything to do with this, because it's so obvious. Anyone can use common sense. All these weapons, the efficacy of these weapons are dependent upon a plane Earth. and they use them as such, right? And then they have like 99.9% reliability. They're literally people's lives and entire armies and militaries are on the line. Their tactical positioning is on the line. Their ability to, implement target acquirements on the line, right? We're talking about war, and every time it's like, oh, well, just shoot it out there like it's flat. And trust me, there's going to be something that goes on that takes care of it, no matter what frequency. Oh, it's tropospheric scattering, and none of the excuses work, and they're not even agreed upon. There isn't like a definitive explanation. Literally, it's like maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's not. We can't replicate it, but trust me, this could in theory happen, I think. And it's like, or the other option is literally you're shooting line of sight horizontal propagation over a plane Earth, and you can very predictably know where that beam is going to go, outside of, external interference. And this is literally how it all works. The same with, a plane, whenever it's going to determine its angle of descent, when it's coming down to land, it uses a flat Earth. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that,
pretty fascinating.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. On that, Man of Stone has an awesome video on the landing gear that they use now, right? I'll get the links here in a second. But so this Nikobon system that they use, that they were using, is just a reversal of what they were already using to land planes at night. Well, they still use a similar system nowadays. And Stone put together some data from a pilot that was landing from I think it was, I want to say 50 or 60 miles out. And based off of the way that radar system works and your angle of descent to come in, being very specific, it reveals the contour of the Earth. And it's another flat one. Let me see if I can find it real quick. BitChute's not too friendly on the searching.
And just, I guess
here we go. I found it. Here we go. Yeah, check this out. At home.
Okay, that's called. What's it called? New pilot data confirms Earth is not convex, and that's Man of Stone on BitChute.
Yeah, I'll see if I can show some of the finer points of it here. But basically, when you're coming in, your system's supposed to get, when you're in line with this radar signal, because it basically creates like a diamond formation of radio signals. And at that intersection point, it's very accurate. So they have your actual location with respect to absolute space. And then as you're descending to come in, you have to have that specific angle based on your speed and all that and distance from the target. And this thing guides you in, and these angles and whatnot are these are flat Earth angles. They're not globe DV. It wouldn't work. This radar system wouldn't work. They wouldn't be able to come in and approach and be accurate like that. If it was globular, there would be different numbers involved, and Stone breaks it all down really well. But definitely check that out. It's very complementary to this whole radar landing plane bombing situation.
It's so funny. You were focusing on the wrong subject. The Earth is flat. That is what it should be about. Nothing with any sphere. And that's like an FED, like Oakleyite talking point. It's so stupid. Why do people say stuff like that? Like if I explain that you build something, say like a canal, and then you have a vertical datum perpendicular to the horizontal baseline that you then build out from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For you to never say, and this is why it would be differently, or would work differently if it were not flat, if there was curvature, because that's what we were all indoctrinated and brainwashed with. If you do not connect the dots, then you're not doing anything. I think it's so weird that people say that. I don't want to go off on that tangent, but obviously falsification of curvature of Earth is verification of a plane. The surface of the Earth is not curving; it is flat. So I just think it's such a goofy thing to say. All right, so dude, I love this, bro. So obviously let's make a list of the issues with diffraction. I'm gonna see if I can add to them. So we got the actual beam, the range of beam divergence, the actual distance stays consistent, predictably at around 400 to 500 yards based on the frequency and the height and the distance, utilizing a coherent beam line of sight. You know that it's going to spread out from 4 to 500 yards. And they have to know that variable is extremely important because they're actually going to intersect different beams at a certain point. And you need the center, you need to know that you're in the center of this transmission. And the way that you verify that is actually the sound that you're hearing, the actual signal received. If it's actually direct, if it's directly central to you, then you're going to hear like a consistent sound as opposed to it being broken up. So the actual divergence of the beam it is imperative that you have that accurate in order to be able to do it at all in the first place. And if you're claiming that it's actually just a magical diffraction, trust me, bro, well, they wouldn't be able to actually satisfy that prerequisite. Yeah? What do you think about that?
Nailed it.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, as you were laying it out, I put up the diagram of the beams, the left to center, right to center signal, and how it works, and with respect to the plane. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's almost so straightforward you gaslight yourself.
Well, yeah, and you just want to make sure people do kind of understand their alleged response, because there's the other side that it's like if there is any response, they just remembered enough to repeat it and then pretend that flat earthers are so stupid they don't understand it while they're in the process of not understanding it. So it's important, obviously, as an actual intellectual that's going to be honest, is to understand the counter and to be able to still man it.
Yeah, I learned a lot from arguing in the comment sections way back in the day before they even had the live stream, where you could chat live. Arguing with trolls. People that I knew were trolls, but they would have arguments and they'd send me to articles and this and that. And go read the articles. Go read it, because 99.9% of the time, it said the exact opposite of what they were trying to, say. I don't think most of them even read the articles. I bet McKeegan did like zero research on propagation of diffraction and wavelengths and any of it.
Yeah, but it's very simple what they do. Like his argument is like, oh, you can hear a radio station on the other side of a mountain, stupid flurf. Because he genuinely he genuinely thinks like flat Earth is stupid in his mind. The way like he's convinced himself in this cognitive dissonance world that we're stupid. So then he tailors his rebuttals to that level of thinking, right? To that intellectual level. So that's why it's like, oh well, no, it's just this simple. So, I mean, I don't think it's any more complicated than that. So, I mean, that's building on what you say. Of course he didn't do like any like real diligent research. You think he's going to pop up a presentation and show all these details like this? Of course not. He's going to show a cartoon of radio stations. Yeah, I would think that people have, if you have like even just remedial pattern recognition, you can notice that just happens almost every single subject. But so, yeah, it's very interesting. And of course, what's fascinating is like, of course, the military in 2024 is using like highly precise, super coherent microwave beams at probably immense distances. And they're just going to use the Earth like it's flat. Like, this is why military technology has to be so heavily classified. And there's really no legitimate reasoning for that after the fact. Like say the technology they have right now, sure, you don't want to tell the world what you have, but 20 years later, whatever, there's no real reason that we can't know, but this kind of explains it. Dude, this is like freaking scripted almost. It's so perfect. It's like they turned down pursuing the technology because of the Earth curve.
Yeah. And then when it was happening, they didn't even want to look for it as a radar system because they were like, Earth curve, bruh, we're straight.
Germans were like, yeah, bro.
Like, yeah, dude, ball protect you.
Yeah, man, heliocentrism, brother.
I mean, look at this. This is like not even this. Yeah.
There is such an overlap here, right? Because you have the debacle that was relativity, Jewish mysticism referred to as relativity. Because that's what it is. It's esoteric mysticism that bends the simple mind. And then you have Germany that was like, that's ridiculous. That's not true at all. There's an ether. But yeah, you guys, please believe that. We're going to pursue ether physics and then develop UFOs and all kinds of weapon technology. Same thing here. Like, oh, yeah, okay. You Brits can believe whatever. It's just so funny. So Germany was making incredibly precise target acquirement military technology systems and UFOs. And the Brits were, I don't know, what do they do? Eat beans and toast? Pretty funny.
Have you guys heard of that, the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951?
What?
Never heard of her.
It's the head of the patent office, the U.S. Patent Office, has the right to deem a patent dangerous to national security and make it to where you cannot patent it, but you can, like say the CIA says, oh, this patent, we can't allow this to get out there for this reason, like they will compensate you for use of your patent. The government, it's not like they take your stuff and you don't get anything for your invention. These people are still getting paid, but they're not allowed to commercially sell it. They're not allowed to even tell people about it. Yeah, I didn't even know about this thing. I just found this a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it was signed in 1951. Now, if you don't go to a lot of .gov sites, because all the ones I did were .gov, doing my research, because a lot of them were saying, well, even if it wasn't a threat to national security, they can just do it for why not? Because, like a free energy device, they could say, oh, well, that would mess up the oil companies, so we can't do that. There is nothing in any of the government documents that I read, and I even went, a government document is like a follow your story. There's so many, go to this page to read up on this, and then go to this page to read up on this. I went like 10 deep on that, and I saw nothing about them saying anything about like financial restrictions or anything like that. It all had to do with military application and things like that. So yeah, I understand that they have to hide a lot of stuff, but like you said, Austin, when the technology's out there and all these other people around the world have it, our enemies and everyone, I don't understand why we couldn't have that information then.
Yeah, like I'm just so glad that now you guys looked a little further into and got a little more specifics, because this is my favorite argument. Like, if anyone starts really getting cocky and stuff like that, I just immediately am like, long distance line of sight transmissions of microwaves, so it's high frequencies beyond what could even be invoked as a theoretical skywave propagation. And like a quick follow up is like, I like the sonar waves as well. I think these are direct, precise, physical refutations of sphericity. End of, So this is like right up my alley right here with the substantive specificity. Heracles says, killing it. You guys should bolster this with LoRa distances of up to 830 miles. Taboo has a video on that too.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if we want to have Taboo play us out that 14-minute video that he just put out covering the ACE system. It was great, because they have another one that's, I think it's like 600 something miles. It's insane.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And before we do that, or while we do that, I didn't really check with anyone. I just made that thumbnail. If you guys like the new thumbnail or the change of pace, drop a 1 in the chat. If you like the old school, reliable, typical GLOBEBUSTERS thumbnail, drop a 2. 1 if you like the new approach. 2 if you like the old school. All right, let's play the most recent one. Yes, we're talking about?
Yes. I dropped it in the chat. The NATO 515 mile.
Yeah.
Oh, 515 microwave. Yeah, that one.
Cool, I got it. All right. There we go. All right, let's check this out.
Last
So yeah,
week,
we're now adding
I was
another
watching a
100
debate.
miles to the repertoire, essentially.
Dun dun dun.
Last week, I was watching a debate with witsitgetsit that was recently shared on the Flat Earth
Oh, you'll
app.
have to share that one.
The video itself was on
Wait, sorry. What's up?
You'll have to screen share that one.
Oh, you guys don't hear it?
Nope.
Oh, why does it do that? Oh, you were sharing. Duh. Okay. It still has the yellow box around, so I was confused, but that's my OBS. All right. There, you guys can see it now?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool.
Last week, I was watching a debate with witsitgetsit that was recently shared on the Flat Earth app. The video itself was on the Chad Preston Official 3 channel, which you can find here. The video quality is poor, but Witsit quickly discussed something very interesting to me. An old NATO microwave communication system called ACE High, which stands for Allied Command Europe High Band. Let's watch a little bit of the video from Witsit.
The ACE, which is the Allied Command Europe High Band, was a NATO communication system implemented during the Cold War, where they're shooting 50 to 250 miles with microwave transmissions. Microwave transmissions. And again, you can't just cop out by saying refraction and diffraction. It doesn't work like that. So you guys don't know the answer. I can play games with you all night and let you pretend you do, but we're going to cut to the chase and tell you what your religion is. Your religion is that it just magically starts to go out horizontally, and there's a magic area in the atmosphere. Not the ionosphere, mind you. This is like just a couple miles up, where it just hits water in the atmos, then reflects right back down to where it's supposed to go. So if I shoot a microwave directly out horizontally, it'll go 250 miles and just coincidentally land exactly where it's supposed to, because there's magic reflection in the atmosphere. So, and that wouldn't work consistently. This, if you read into the documentation that was recently declassified from this program, it consistently works. You can send these microwaves out over and over and over, and it works every single time, as if it was horizontal.
Now, I'm going to be citing from this article frequently.
I gotta make a disclaimer. It's really tough for me to watch stuff like that because I feel like I have polished myself a bit. So, apology for the somewhat like aggressive, derogatory tone there. I don't know what they said, but I clearly kind of got worked up there. Anyway.
And I'll have a link in the description. It turns out Witsit was absolutely correct, but it gets even worse for the globe. According to the article, the ACE system was very reliable at 99.9%, and communications could be sent from 50 to 250 miles. It must be noted that microwave transmissions are electromagnetic waves with a frequency of 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. Frequencies used by ACE range from 832.56 to 959.28 megahertz. That falls within the UHF, ultra-high frequency spectrum, and UHF signals are narrow and travel in straight lines and are limited to line-of-sight applications, in which the receiver can be seen by the transmitter. Line-of-sight communications are certainly a problem for a globe, where that curvature of the Earth is supposedly bending away from you at roughly 8 inches per mile squared. The curve should begin blocking line-of-sight transmissions at the last visible edge of the globe called the horizon. For example, if you use a globe-Earth curvature calculator like this one, a tower at 200 feet above sea level would be severely limited when attempting a line-of-sight transmission beyond the geometric edge of the globe. That would be closer than 17 miles. In addition to all other obstructions and the Fresnel zone, at a mere distance of 17 miles, the curvature of the Earth would begin blocking any transmission as shown in this illustration. But if the target receiver was 250 miles away, like the towers in the ACE system, the target receiver would be obstructed by a shadow of the Earth that is 36,000 feet tall. There is no mountain on Earth that would be tall enough to get a tower 36,000 feet high. The ACE system was in 9 different NATO countries, from England to northern Norway through Central Europe to Turkey. I did find this Wikipedia article helpful in finding the actual locations of many of these communication towers. But I was mostly interested in this map here from the article, showing the ones in England and Western Europe. But I went ahead and mapped each of these locations on Google Earth, and I have the coordinates to all of the actual sites listed there if you want to do some follow-up research. Many of those communications should be blocked by the curvature of the Earth. For example, the one on the top right from Colefirth Hill in the Shetland Islands to Sola, Norway is a big one. Those microwave towers, according to Google Earth, are at a distance of 262 miles. The elevation there at the Sola, Norway location is 2,615 feet above sea level. Adding 150 feet for the array gives us an observation height of 2,765 feet. To maintain a line of sight with Colefirth Hill, the tower in the Shetland Islands would have to be 26,000 feet high. Unfortunately for the globe, Colefirth Hill only has an elevation of 785 feet. Other distances between the towers were from approximately 40 to 200 miles. But let's get to the big one. Ringstead Bay in southern England to Monte Gormendi in Spain. This one doesn't show up on all of the ACE maps because it wasn't technically part of ACE, and so it makes sense why it has been overlooked. But it was still used in the network and used the same technology. Here's an excerpt from Wikipedia confirming the same. Finding the exact location of the Ringstead site was a bit tricky since it's not listed as an ACE site. But here is a photo of the Ringstead location back in 1970. This article also confirms the link between Ringstead and Gormendi did exist. Looking at the photograph of the two aerials, I was able to pinpoint the location of the Ringstead station on Google Earth, right where the yellow place mark is. I am definitely close on the map when you compare the photograph with Google Earth. Here's the location on Google Earth with the coordinates that I used, but I could be slightly off. The elevation there is at around 55 feet, and we'll add 150 feet for the height of the aerials, which gives us a total height of 205 feet. And that seems to match the photograph. But you could add 1,000 feet, and it wouldn't make a difference. Next, let's look at Monte Gormendi, Spain. I was able to find the exact location of the Gormendi station from this German article. The elevation at that point is 3,481 feet, and we'll again add another 150 feet for the aerials to get a height of 3,631 feet. The distance between Ringstead and Gormendi is 515 miles according to Google Earth. I've also included the elevation profile here. Notice that there is a direct line of sight between Ringstead and Gormendi on a flat Earth. With a microwave height of 3,631 feet above sea level and a distance of 515 miles, you get a whopping target hidden height of 129,415 feet, or 39,465 meters. That means, on the globe, the Ringstead Tower in southern England would have to be 24.5 miles tall to have line of sight with Gormendi, but the Ringstead aerials were only 205 feet high. Obviously, the globe fails. Of course, whenever the curvature disappears, the globe propagandists have a reason why. For example, the curvature of the Earth disappeared when Guglielmo Marconi sent that transmission over 2,000 miles. Naysayers said the curvature of the Earth would block the transmission. Instead, the curvature somehow disappeared, and the ionosphere theory was created. The curvature seemingly disappeared when the Lorentz system used triangulation to locate ships over 1,000 miles away from the towers. In this case, the radio signals didn't bounce off anything, but were said to inexplicably hug the curvature of the Earth. How triangulation over 1,000 miles works on a ball and a vastly curved baseline isn't explained. We have repeatedly discussed the World War II German Knickbein system, which used line-of-sight bombing beams that were hundreds of miles away from the target locations. For some reason, the curvature disappeared for those line-of-sight bombing beams as well. How about the fact that sonar technicians have stated that there is no sonar acoustic Earth curvature shadow? The curvature disappears there too. How about the U.S. government's SOSUS submarine surveillance program that could monitor submarines thousands of miles away from the recording devices by way of triangulation? How triangulation based only on a math, assuming a flat Earth, could work on a globe with objects thousands of miles away is never explained. Again, the curvature disappeared without a trace. Maybe you remember the fact that humpback whales can communicate over 4,000 miles away. Why doesn't the 500-mile-high Earth bulge between the whales affect the communications? Seems like the alleged 1,800-mile-tall Earth curve acoustic shadow just disappeared. Do you remember the record 830-mile line-of-sight LoRa transmission at sea level? Again, the curvature disappeared, even though LoRa is likewise a line-of-sight communication. How about the fact that the curvature of the Earth does not produce an upward bulge shadow visible on the clouds at sunset and sunrise? The curvature of the Earth disappears there too. What about aircraft, especially the SR-71, which has a top speed of 2,200 miles per hour? That would require some curvature adjustment of around 22,000 feet in just 5 minutes of flight. Again, the curvature disappeared, and the globe propagandists vie for the most plausible explanation as to why the curve keeps disappearing, regardless of the speed of the flight or the plane's altitude. What about the gyroscopic attitude indicator in an airplane? It should continually rise as the airplane is allegedly adjusting for the curvature of the Earth. Again, there's some automatic curvature removing device that fixes that one. What about this high-altitude balloon footage at around 120,000 feet? No curvature there either. No visible curvature at even an alleged 329,000 feet. Look at this video from BMLSB 69 viewing the Anacapa Arch in California at a distance of 31.8 miles with a camera height of 1.5 feet. 612 feet should have been hidden behind the bulge. Again, the curvature disappeared without a trace. Could you imagine if you're making a long-distance observation at this man holding a child, and someone told you that the man is actually hidden behind a house at the horizon that's blocking your view, but the house just disappeared due to refraction, leaving a person behind the house unaffected? You would rightfully think they were insane. I guess a disappearing curve seems more plausible for some reason, but I still think it's stupid. But with all of these examples, did you happen to notice a common theme here? The curvature of the Earth always seems to disappear, and it doesn't matter how implausible the explanation. There's always something that allows the massive curvature of the Earth to disappear without a trace, and that should cause any thinking, independently minded person to begin questioning the globe narrative. But let's get back to the ACE High communication system. The official story as to how Ringstead was able to communicate with Gordimendi at a UHF line-of-sight frequency was due to refraction, which is technically called tropospheric scatter. Just to be clear, the troposphere is where we live. It starts at the ground and rises to about 33,000 feet. According to the official story, the microwave signal is pointed just above the horizon. Let me emphasize that pointing the signal at just above the horizon just so happens to be the same place you'd point the signal if the Earth were flat. But the story is that the once line-of-sight signal pointed just above the horizon refracts or scatters off of the moisture in the air and comes back down at the receiving tower 515 miles away. It doesn't matter if it's 100 miles or 515 miles. It just so happens that the signal bounces off of the air we breathe and hits the other tower hidden by the massive alleged curve of the Earth. If that were the case, then you wouldn't need line of sight for any microwave communications, as those signals would be scattering everywhere, and you wouldn't even need the signals to line up anymore. Furthermore, how could a system be reliable at 99.9% when it relies on microwave signals bouncing off of moisture in the air, especially since that would fluctuate tremendously? Just like with long-distance observations, it seems the refraction excuse just happens to inexplicably fix the globe when the curvature needs to disappear to maintain that globe illusion. I couldn't find too much information on the Pacific scatter system, but look at this map. Some of those communications were over 1,300 miles at VHF frequencies, which are supposed to penetrate the ionosphere. A distance of 1,350 miles would require curvature drop around 223 miles. Again, the curve just disappeared. I don't know how many people who are watching this video that are genuinely considering the flat Earth, but how many ridiculous explanations for the disappearing curve are you going to accept before you allow yourself to question the globe narrative? Please think about it. There truly is no Earth curvature. It's time to let go of the ball and embrace our flat Earth reality. Thanks for watching.
Dun dun dun. In a
He's
world.
so good at those videos, dude. Ben is the man.
Such
Yeah,
a great
yes.
video.
But that can't be true, though.
When it matters, it's flat.
I mean, it's so funny. But I mean, I don't know. There's just different types of people, right? Like, there's a whole spectrum here. Like, I didn't have to go really make this intense decision about getting genetically modified. Instantaneously, it was a no. Because I could just apply pattern recognition. Discovering all the subsequent details of specificity only further verified or validated my decision, right? But it was a very quick, primarily pattern recognition based decision. And dude, that's got to be one of the most easy to see patterns. Every time it matters, if it's war, if someone's life's at stake, and if it costs money, the Earth is flat every single time. Every time. You're going to build something that costs a lot of money, Earth is flat. You're going to go try to attack
flat Earth for
someone?
that.
Yeah. It's like everything, man. And I just think it's very interesting to really think about that. Like if it came down to money, the Earth would be flat tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Worldwide.
Yeah.
But probably coincidence. The Globers are just a very unfortunate sequence of events that came from random happenstance and nothingness, where the entire world consistently and deceptively creates the illusion that the Earth is flat, and you have to treat it that way to do everything. But it's just this unfortunate, repetitive conglomerate of coincidences everywhere you look that just always make it just so happen to match to what the flat Earth says. Pretty wild. Pretty wild.
Yeah, you can't take away that nothingness from them, because then their actions have consequences, and they don't want to think about that. Yeah, I think so much of it is a spiritual battle, and the people that fight it the most are the ones that claim to have no spirituality at all, when it's really that's their science, that's their God, the nothingness. It all came from nothing, we're all going to be nothing. Yeah, it's like the exact opposite of a creator is, the nothing. So you're
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, to quote my boy, young Aristotle, from nothing comes nothing.
There you
Very,
go.
very obvious and self-evident. Yeah, we have an entire cosmology based on everything coming from nothing. But didn't the ancient Greeks figure out everything? They figured out that, but now it's like the inverse? Okay.
Oh, yeah. The one world religion. I believe that this was all foretold, and science is that one world religion. Scientism, I should say.
Yeah. Adherence to the Copernican principle unites them all in globularity and cosmology.
And they took away their priest with the funny hat and the robe and put a lab coat on with a pocket protector.
Real fast. So your buddy McGeegan said he's going to listen.
Nice.
No, I'm asking.
Oh yeah, he tweeted and said that he's looked forward to watching this, and I invited him on. I just wanted to, yeah.
Okay, well, let's just keep repeatedly saying what he's not going to ever put in any type of follow-up video. Just you can't invoke diffraction because the actual beam divergence distance would increase once it actually came into contact with the obstacle causing said diffraction. In this case, the curvature of the Earth at 600 to 650 feet up, you would be introduced to the Earth curvature obstruction at roughly 30 miles. In order to invoke diffraction, the beam divergence, the distance of divergence, would change at that 30-mile mark and then continue to do so as it continued on its 450-mile path. You could not have utilized the crossing paths of different beams, reliably utilizing 400 to 500 yard divergence so that you could identify the central area of that beam to accurately bomb the targets. Diffraction doesn't work to explain this phenomena. I mean, that was simple, right? That was pretty straightforward.
Well said. Right? Well said. Knowing the maximum divergence, right? Because so here's how they detected the radars, right? Or the system. Here's how they confirmed it. So they got their planes off the ground in England, and they had the similar calibrated transponding radio receiver signal or whatever, so that they could be in attune to that known frequency that they were all using. But they just made it a little more sensitive because they noticed that on one of the planes that they recovered from the Germans, that their landing gear was more sensitive than it needed to be for the signal that would be typically sent for doing a blind landing. So anyway, they hooked up their planes with the similar sensitivity, and they just flew around, right? And then when they started getting signals that left or right divergence, we're in the center. Well, when they mapped all that out by flying through it over and over again, the minimum and maximum dimensions of it were 400 to 500 yards. And then you got to think too. So you got one of those the min-max dimensions at that location, and then it's divide that into 3 sections because you're left of center, right of center, and then dead center. So, you like within that signal, you're looking at a spread of 250 yards. It's crazy. It's just not tenable that it would maintain that accuracy if it started diffracting 30 miles into the propagation. It wouldn't. It's
going to continue to diffract after that, dude. Right.
It's not. Yeah. It's. Yeah. And that's why they didn't even consider that position, right? When you look at that guy's actual steelman of radio propagation, the only way that they could even conceptualize it is sending the coherent beam at an angle to have skip zones. And they were like, this would be useless. You wouldn't, at a certain point, it would be useless. It would give you nothing. Like so angle to the sky is completely out of the question. It's literally horizontal propagation or bust.
Right. And let's just make sure that this is understood. 30 miles, the beam is going to hit the curvature of the Earth. So in his little cartoon about radio stations, that would be the mountain. Well, okay, so part of it gets obstructed by the mountain, then the radio wave basically fills in the gap on the other side of the mountain and keeps going. You would keep hitting mountains in the globe Earth. You would keep hitting mountains. So
eventually your right of center beam would disappear, and then your center beam would disappear, and then all you would be left maybe is the left of center beam, if that is even able to keep going. It would not work, man.
And for people that are maybe new to this discussion, so you understand the entire concept, you have a tower and it's set up, it's leveled, and it's going to shoot out a radio wave in the form of a beam directly out straight. It's called line of sight, a direct straight line. You're going to shoot it straight out horizontally over top of the Earth. You have a target that's 450 miles away. You shoot this beam as if the Earth is flat, horizontally over top of it. So you're going to have 2 parallel lines effectively. The Earth being a plane, a horizontal line, and then a parallel horizontal line to that, which is the beam, the radio wave. And that does slightly spread out, and that's called divergence. It diverges from the source. But there's a maximum distance that it diverges. We know how wide it will be based on the frequency that you're sending. And in this case, it is 400 to 500 yards. That's the width of the divergence. You sent it out, and then you can send out the same exact type of radio wave from another location, and if you angle them at each other, they're going to intersect at one point. They were using this technology to find specific locations so that they could then bomb them. And then when it came to Britain being proposed with the same type of technology, because that's super efficient, you can do it at night, right? It's a tactical advantage in war to be able to precisely identify your target, right? This is like next level target acquirement, certainly at that time. Britain was like, well, that's obviously not going to work because the Earth's a ball, right? The curvature of the Earth's going to block it. They dismissed it. Okay, well, the Germans maybe weren't retarded and they didn't. So the point is, what that does, and let's just make it even more basic, if the Earth is a globe, it's a sphere, that means the surface is curving. So if I'm standing straight up and I draw a straight line out from me, it's going to hit the curve of the Earth. It's going to be a giant hill in front of me at a certain distance based on how high I am. But that doesn't happen. This falsifies that. It just keeps going as if the Earth was flat, which it can't do. And that then falsifies the radius value that they claim that the globe Earth has, which falsifies the entire model. So that's obviously something that most people here didn't need explained, but I know we may have some new people. That's the base premise here in a really elementary level. And so as a cope, you have globe apologists come and say, oh, well, sure, you can shoot it like it's flat, directly out, line of sight, horizontally over top of the Earth, as if the Earth were flat. Then you can send out another signal from a different location that will intersect with it. So two parallel horizontal lines coming to intersect as if they were all over a flat Earth. And really what's happening is it's getting blocked by the curve of the Earth and then filling in behind it, and it keeps going. And then we covered how that actually wouldn't work, because every time it hit the curve of the Earth, which you know the distance based on the size of the globe and what height above it you are, just basic geometry, it would get wider and wider and wider. But they had to utilize the knowledge that it was a 400 to 500 yard beam divergence to know exactly where they would be able to intersect these beams and to know where the center of the beam was. And the way that they would verify this is based on the signal they were receiving. If you're in the center of the propagation, then you're going to hear like a continuous tone. If you're off of center, you're going to have it going in and out, effectively like beeps. And that's how you're able to narrow down where the center is. They utilized all of this technology as if the Earth was flat, and they were successful. They were able to have efficient target acquirement, which should not have been the case if the Earth were flat. And last point, this is all kind of a recap. Just like he said, they didn't even propose this idea that it was just diffraction because they knew that it was stupid, and they denied the even like the possibility of this working. They refused to even look into it, and they said the only way anything like this would even work in theory is to take the actual tower that's going to shoot this signal, tip it up at an angle so that it's going to bounce back down off of the I guess the ionosphere, which is a theory. And then it'll give you skywave propagation bouncing up and down, and then you could try to make it land. And obviously they wouldn't pursue that because that would be very unreliable and inefficient. You would have giant skip zones, etc. So they didn't even propose this idea. So this is the point I want to make with all that. This is what always happens. Flat Earthers diligently do some research. They don't really care what other people think. They find out, look, there's technological, military type of evidence, military and technological evidence that shows that the Earth is in fact a plane, is impossible on what they told us that the Earth is. And then you have global apologists run around with the benefit of being propped up by algorithms as we're censored, and they make up a whole new version of the globe Earth, and they all adopt it as if it's actually the official answer. But in reality, it's not even considered viable within the true paradigm of the globe Earth. That was never proposed. It's just this new world of people trying to combat the truth of flat Earth, making stuff up. Okay, I know that was a lot, but we went all the way from square one there.
Man, how horrible would it have been to be Churchill? You know, you can't tell people the earth is flat and stuff like that. And they just keep coming to you with all these globe reasons why stuff isn't working.
Yeah.
It's like, just send them to my office. I need to just talk to these people and just send the smart ones to me. Just tell them to come talk to me. Well, I'll set them straight. Oh, that had to be so frustrating.
Any other little details you want to make sure people kind of didn't miss? You knew all these little details that were fire.
What about weather? Is there any way they can claim that weather allowed it to bend or something like that?
Nah, man. So you would have to have like predictable, consistent refraction. Then, if that was the answer,
Over 451 miles.
And then also, yeah, then also you got to think you have two stations, right? That are I forget their distance apart, but they were probably like 200 miles apart, I think, from Cleve to Stolberg, sorry. So
and not the same distance away.
They would have to have matching refractive conditions somehow. Yeah, not the same distance horizontally. So yeah, it's like it's not tenable either. Like it's not the factor here that done did her, right?
Yeah, that's insane to claim that. Which we may end up hearing that, but
yeah, I'm just coming up with the craziest stuff I could think of that you're probably gonna hear eventually.
Well, I think it's pretty predictable. We're dealing with, respectfully, not the brightest people all the time. You have a couple options. It's like diffraction, refraction.
And obviously gravitational refraction and northern hemisphere gravitational specific refraction.
Oh, what if they invoke German refraction, German gravitational refraction?
Oh, there's an anomaly there in Germany? Yeah.
The umlau. There's an umlau.
Oh, the Nazi gravity.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they come up with for you, Alan. This is awesome, man. I can't wait to see what they come up with to try to, if they even do.
Oh yeah, dude, there's nothing. Nobody even looked into it on their end. It's over.
I mean, I had to go look into it back in the day, and my argument wasn't even nearly this polished. I had to go look into it the best I could for them because they simply just wouldn't do it, couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I got tropospheric scattering
a lot, where you have to like learn an entire new subject because of that exact reason.
Which is what I meant in that clip that was played. I could have probably said it better, but I'm like, I could just play with you all night and act like you know what you're talking about, but we'll just cut to the chase and I'll tell you your own religion. Well, that's what I mean. It's like that's true. I had to go diligently seek out any possible stillman of the globe because they simply won't do it. So, I just say sunset. It's fine. It's good. It's like not everyone's supposed to have some of these truths. Like, I mean, Flat Earth needs to wrap their mind around that. You know what I'm saying? Like, Flat Earthers like, bro, that's just how the cookie crumbles, my guy. Like, would you even really want? I mean, think about some simple, basic truth that everyone knows, and then how they just get completely ruined and destroyed and undervalued the way it is already. Like,
yeah. Touché.
Well, nice, man. I like it.
Thank you. Shout out to Ben and Pizio, man. Pizio helped a ton on the breakdown of the specifics of the waves and stuff. And just, yeah, it was great. We worked on this all day yesterday.
And where can people find that presentation? That setup PDF?
Oh, yeah, ethercosmology.com. And then it'll be the first link on the, you'll see the Battle of the Beams title. Just click on that. And that's it. And then it has all the information in there from that. All the forwarding links and PDFs.
Great work.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to do a more refined prez on it. and get it all like in a cohesive timeline and whatnot, and then make another PDF for everyone. Because this is pretty much there's a GG.
Let me read a couple super chats here. We got I'm gonna butcher your name, but Ziohi, $10 super chat. So they use this technology to guide planes on bombing runs during the night. Would the people flying the plane be hearing the type of beeps and using them to navigate blind?
Yes.
That's wild. Justin Johnson, thank you for being a GLOBEBUSTER member for 12 months. Be sure and like the smash button. Indeed. And thank you for gifting 10 memberships. And shout out to everyone that became a member. Much love, Justin Johnson. A consistent supporter. And then Ziohi, definitely butchering that. Churchill was a Freemason. I'm pretty sure he knows the earth was flat, considering it's the Masons that own every empire on earth and use countries as a stage for their war theater. Well, of course, you can just read basically one of the fathers of modern Freemasonry, Albert Pike, in Morals and Dogma, who point blank tells you that they use plane geometry for the earth and spherical geometry for the sky. And of course, you have a square and a compass. That's how you measure those things. And you have G, seemingly geometria, which is measurement of earth. That's literally what the word means. And the G represents many things. But you can actually just go read one of the most famous Masonic pieces of literature to verify that it is well known. The earth is plane. And to be honest with you, I can't even say things that I wanted to say right there because we are on YouTube. But just say, Masonry is for a certain group of people that are ethnically disallowed from being part of another group of people. So
I'm surprised they never found you, Austin. The D-Malay and all that kind of stuff when you were young. I'm surprised you were never approached.
I had a couple of people try to talk to me. People were going to spiral. But I had, so my great grandfather was a high level Mason, not blood though. And there was a guy who tried to talk to me at his funeral. And then there was another time this guy got kind of drunk, and I think he was saying things he wasn't supposed to. They're not actually supposed to, like, outright recruit people, but yeah, I'm not. That's a hard pass from your boy.
I'm glad, brother. So glad. Yeah, they are a very tight-knit group. As much as I despise it, you have to appreciate it at the same time, know your enemy type of thing. And yeah, it's amazing what they've built. The unity and everything and all that kind of stuff. It's impressive. You can see why they are in seats of power all over the place.
What's really impressive is how well they've set up like the cover where they have all these people that have no idea what they're doing. And so you got like people like Lore Lodge running around talking about how he's a Mason, and that runs perfect cover for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally, Albert Pike explains that the introductory rituals for the new people are supposed to be carried out in such a way that they are misled into thinking that they understand them, and they're given false interpretations and guided into false interpretations. And there's an emphasis on really trying to convince them that they know what they mean, like intentionally misleading them, and keeping what the rituals actually mean from them. So anytime you talk to like a low-level Mason that's like, oh, really Masonry is no big deal. You just understand it. People are just, people just being, I hate the word, what's it called? Philanthropy, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a great way to support your business. It is. Just saying. I had buddies of mine that joined the Masons. You become a master Mason, they call it, your third degree. And then you go and play ping pong every third Tuesday of the month or Thursday or Wednesday or whatever day it is. And you go play ping pong and drink beer with your buddies at, the Mason Hall. But then there are people that advance much higher. There are many more degrees beyond that. I don't think you get morals and dogma till like 7th degree, I think. Or was it 14th degree, maybe? I'm not sure.
Well, I know that they put an emphasis on they don't even really want people to get all the way up and truly understand it. At certain levels, you get access to libraries, but they basically just sit back and see if you're going to do anything with it. Mm-hmm. We are 50% to our goal. I have faith in you guys on Ko-fi.com/GLOBEBUSTERS to help us get there. And just reiterate this again. Pop on over to X. Go to the GLOBEBUSTERS on X and follow it. I'm going to try to make that account be pretty active. If you guys will help get the word out, and then we'll try and always make sure we stream there as well. So cool, man. You guys got any other little topics or cherries on top of what we were discussing?
Yeah, the Sparrow missile defense system is another thing to look into, a more modern type of, it's a single beam, a pencil beam system that the military uses, and the specs are, they'll tell you I think it says up to 50 miles or maybe 50 miles and over, and then all that's classified beyond that. But these are things they've had experts people who've run the system come on and do interviews about this specific defense system. It shoots a 2-inch pencil beam laser from a ship that can target another ship on the water over 50 miles away. It's an amazing piece of technology. But yeah, when you look into it, it's game over. It's kind of like this, line of sight. It has to be. So there's a lot of things out there like this that they're using today. And we'll explain to you that it is a, line of sight. The Sparrow Missile Defense System says it right in the manual thing, line of sight. So yeah, like Austin and Alan are saying, when it comes to, people's lives and, military stuff on the line, the earth is flat, motionless. That's just how they treat it.
Yeah, something else. I've never watched this video, but I'm going to play it. It's just a couple minutes long, but this is also one of my, I've never even heard a legitimate rebuttal to this. So let's check this out. You guys can still see the screen, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah. The refutation is the thermocline. They say that there's there's a heat and gradient in the ocean and also salinity. So there's just like this magic salt layer that provides like the radio or the sound waves to bounce up and down, back and forth, and to propagate 4,000 miles.
It creates a little ducting zone or whatever. But the problem with that is that so it just does it at all depths the same way.
Yeah, dude, in all directions with uniformity at all times.
That's such a joke. That makes no sense.
Just a uniform gradient, bro. Like, what do you want from me?
So stupid, bro. It doesn't that doesn't make any sense. All right, let's check this out real fast. Yeah,
it's a cope essentially, because it's just invoking something that's unfalsifiable.
Yeah, literally, dude. The creatures in the ocean just casually debunking the globe every year, and they put out a new song every year, just debunks the globe. You know that that Wells internationally send out a new signal every year?
No, that's awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah, pretty crazy. All right, let's check it out.
Hundreds of meters below the surface, the largest animals in the world sing at frequencies that are so low, we need to speed them up just to hear them. Blue whales come to these depths to use an invisible sound channel that concentrates their calls, allowing them to communicate across unparalleled distances. The channel is formed by variations in temperature and pressure, that happen with increasing depth. At the top of the channel, the water is warmer. Sound travels faster in warmer water, and due to the refraction that occurs, is bent downwards. At the bottom of the channel, the temperature is near freezing and constant, but the water pressure continues to rise. Sound travels faster at higher pressures, so here, the effect is upside down. Sound is forced upward, back into the channel. This continues over and over again. These changes in sound speed concentrate the acoustic waves. The result is that little acoustic energy is lost to the surface or the deep ocean. While sound is concentrated vertically, it still spreads out horizontally. A male blue whale singing his courtship song off the Grand Banks near Newfoundland will project his voice across much of the Northwest Atlantic. After a few minutes, the song reaches whales feeding off of Nova Scotia, then New England, and more than 20 minutes after it started, the song begins to reach whales off Cape Hatteras, 2,000 kilometers away. Blue whales are adapted for very long-distance communication. If this female is attracted, she could swim to join him in less than 3 weeks. Scientists believe that the ability to communicate on this scale is crucial for females to find the fittest males, even if they are half an ocean away.
That's crazy. Like, literally, whales can't even make babies without
These
the earth
changes
being
in
flat. That's such a goofy explanation right here. Like, oh, it's cold at the bottom and hot at the top. So you're saying it goes the entire depth of the ocean? What are you even talking about? She said it's channel. It's cold at the bottom of the channel and hot at the top. That doesn't make any sense because it happens at all different depths. That makes no sense. You can't just have tons of channels where it's hot and cold at the bottom. What channel? What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but if we arbitrarily define it and show an upward beam and a downward beam creating a horizontal propagation around a ball, then everyone will believe it.
Like, I'm just like,
dude, it's insane. Like, it's one of those things where it's the proof is the thing in question or whatever, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the classic.
Just begging the question, but like, dude, like, let's make sure they're claiming there's a ducting zone. She calls it a channel. So it's just this little area. So they draw two lines. Obviously on a flat earth, you would have like parallel straight lines. They're claiming that it's like these curved lines and that it traps the beam and it bounces up and down inside that beam and then it goes all the way around the globe. It'll appear as if it's just going out straight horizontally, and it's going to go exactly where it would if it were doing that. And then the explanation is because at the bottom of this channel, this arbitrarily defined quote-unquote channel, it's called a ducting zone. It's cold at the bottom, hot at the top. And of course, the problem with that, again, is what happens when the well goes a little deeper or a little higher, right? Where's the channel at now? What actually happens, of course, the water's warmer at the top of the ocean. It gets cooler as you get further and further away from the sun. Okay? So it doesn't just get hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. There aren't areas that are just as hot as the water at the surface all the way at the deepest parts of the ocean. That's not how it works. Right? I think some people maybe heard that and they thought, oh, you're talking about the entire ocean, like towards the top of the ocean is warm, towards the bottom's cold, because that makes sense. No, they're not claiming that the sonar waves are going to the top near the surface of the water all the way down to the deepest part of the ocean. You know, like it would never go these distances if that was the case. They're claiming there are little channels like ducting zones. That literally doesn't make any sense.
Over on Rockton, it says like ham radio signals. They say atmospheric ducting or reverse convection.
That's right. Yeah, ducting is if you ever hear that there's a ducting zone, it's their get out of jail card, because every time you look into it, they've never done any sort of test to show to replicate the actual variables. If you look into the origin of it, it's just like it was a proposed idea. It's like, how can we explain how this is somehow going straight for really long distances, but the Earth's a globe? Well, it's perfectly bending around the globe, and so on a small scale, it's going to look like it's flat. And that's the answer for everything. That's all you can say, right? That's the answer for why we see so far. It's the answer for everything. But when it comes to the actual mechanisms that supposedly cause that to happen, they don't know. They have nothing. It's like laughable, right? Because, and I buried this back in the day, like the tropospheric scattering. I didn't know that everyone really understood the magnitude of my specific refutations of it, but they have never been rebutted, you know? And it's like, for example, this idea that there's just these little water droplets in the air, the microwaves hit it and then it's scattered out in all directions, and then just a very tiny fraction of it just happens to go in the right direction to reach the target as if it were flat. That's not how that works. There's a 99.9% reliability, right? Like, what? And what if it goes down, it's going to get blocked by the curve anyway. So anyway, I find that pretty wild. That, like, in all these situations, they don't actually verify it scientifically. They don't do a test to show, look, these variables cause this to happen. They literally just make up unfounded speculation, and people assume it must be true because that's the best anyone's come up with in theory to explain how it would work on a globe. There has to be something that makes it look like it's flat again. How does that really satisfy someone looking for truth?
Unfounded speculation. Well said.
That's like the name of the game. Such a clown world that if you're able to come up with something when they haven't yet, you're like, just make something up. Like, basically, it's like you could just drop acid and make something up creatively. You get a Nobel Prize. If you save them out of a jam nowadays with just something made up, it doesn't actually have to be verified at all, then you get like a Nobel Prize.
Give them another couple years. That's all they're looking for. Another couple, ways to say we refute it this way until it can be shot down.
You think Marconi sent that rail transmission across the Atlantic, the transatlantic transmission, 2,200 miles, first attempt successfully, when all of his detractors said he couldn't do it because they get blocked by the curve of the Earth at 200 miles or less? And then you think they went up in the sky and found the ionosphere and got a little jar of it? That's not what happened. They just made it up. They literally just made it up.
It had to be there. It had to be there.
There's no jars of ionized spheres?
Never seen the ionosphere jar. Goofy, bro, because it's like, they say we make stuff up. It's like, no, we don't. Like, we know the sun's in an apparent position. Here's where we see it from these locations. So here's what it would be doing. That's not making anything up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like the only thing that anyone has is the apparent position of the sun. And it's like, okay. I don't know. To me, this is why I like this one. Another one is bathymetry, how they measure and map out the topography of the ocean floor. And what they do is they take a boat out, and I'll play a video for that too, actually. People will go with visuals. But this is another one that just destroys the globe. It destroys it. And like, what's so funny, dude, the way I started discovering these proofs is I just started thinking. Like, I just randomly started thinking about how we do everything. Bro, really soak that in. The way I came up with these proofs is I had a show called Schooling Globers, and I'm like, I want to present a new flat earth proof every show. So I just sat back and started thinking about how we do everything. That's all I did. I'm like, oh, here's how we build this. Here's how we determine elevation. Here's how we do this. Oh, how do we map out the ocean floor? Like, how do we communicate across the world? Literally, all you have to do is just think about things that happen to find flat earth proofs. And then you start to look into it and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, of course. That's so funny. That's how I came up with this stuff.
How do we do things?
It's bathymetry.
Look, I'll show you this video. I think this is the one I played back in the day. It's 4 minutes, but check this out. This is called bathymetry. This is how we use sonar to map out the ocean floor. And see if you guys can find the problem We'll discuss it. This is all in the same vein. Battle of the beams. All right, you guys can still see, right?
Yes.
What is bathymetry? Bathymetry is the science of measuring the depth of water in ocean, riverine, or lake environments. What kind of information can you get from bathymetry? Just like the surface of the land isn't always completely flat, the surface of the seafloor is full of various features like reefs, ripples, mountainous ridges, deep canyons, and even shipwrecks. The bottom of the ocean is also very dynamic, meaning it's constantly changing. Bathymetry data provides scientists not only with a depth measurement, but also a picture of what the seafloor looks like. This can provide information about current and past conditions, what kind of
Oh, we've already discovered a problem, soldier.
not only with a depth measurement, but also a picture of what the seafloor looks like. This can
Wait a minute, what is that? What is that? Wait a minute.
Looks like the game Tanks on Atari.
Okay, let's play the game. Can you spot what's wrong? This is an X and Y axis. Okay, this is not gonna work, my friend. This doesn't work. Because supposedly you don't have the horizontal axis. How do you have the x-axis here?
There should be a little bit of curve.
Now, obviously, the cope immediately would be, well, just on short distances, it wouldn't really matter. No. We'll play the video. I'll break it down. Just recall that I very quickly said the stupid thing that people are going to pretend is so obvious. It makes us stupid with their gaslighting. It's not going to work. So, McKeegan, if you're taking notes here, write down that that's not going to work, and we'll help you out.
Can provide information about current and past conditions, what kind of substrate or the material that exists, and if there are any hazards for vessel navigation, among other things. How do you collect bathymetry data?
Oh, wait, what is it? What's it used for?
The material that exists, and if there are any hazards for vessel navigation.
So people's lives are at stake. Okay. That now is starting.
That's why you got the X in there.
That's why there's why.
Among other things. How do you collect bathymetry data? Measuring water depth is not a new concept, but the way we do it has evolved over time. Historically, scientists would lower a lead weight attached to a rope over the side of a vessel to record the depth of water. Today, we use active sonar or sound navigation and ranging. A transducer emits a pulse of sound into the water column, which then bounces off the seafloor and then returns to the transducer.
Okay, so wait, we're measuring elevation differences, topographical differences by sending a wave down, so we have a depiction here where it's not perfectly flat. Okay, let's keep that in mind.
Just like an echo. The time it takes for the sound to travel through the water column is recorded and then calculated to provide a depth measurement. Scientists at the U.S. Geological Survey, St. Petersburg Coastal and Marine Science Center primarily use two types of sonar transducers: single beam echo sounders and multi-beam echo sounders. A single beam transducer repeatedly emits a single pulse of sound directly beneath the vessel, providing a single depth measurement along the traveled track line. A multi-beam transducer repeatedly emits hundreds of pulses of sound in a fan-like fashion beneath the vessel, providing a large swath of depth measurements perpendicular to the vessel's track. How do you analyze or interpret what bathymetry data means? After the survey vessels return to the dock, the data acquired is imported into a suite of special computer programs which allow scientists to analyze and interpret the data. These programs perform all the necessary calculations to assign each pulse of sound emitted from the transducer a depth measurement or sounding. These soundings can represent the seafloor, a feature on or above the seafloor, or anything within the water column that may have blocked the sound from reaching the bottom. When all the soundings are put together, scientists can begin to see what the seafloor and associated environment looks like. Many times, with the use of high-resolution multi-beam data, the picture that is developed can even provide insight into habitat types, such as seagrass beds or reef structures. So why is this work important? Our oceans, rivers, lakes, and waterways make up a large portion of the Earth's surface, but only a small portion has been mapped with enough detail to be useful. Vessels of all sizes need to know the water depth of the areas where they're navigating so that they can travel safely from port to port. Fisheries industries and fisheries managers need to know where specific habitats are located which harbor certain species, and renewable energy sources such as offshore wind infrastructure need to ensure that they can establish systems safely and securely. Here at the USGS St. Petersburg Coastal and Marine Science Center, we are using bathymetry data to map changes in barrier islands and nearshore environments. This allows our scientists to better understand the seafloor and the associated environment, recognize changes, and provide predictions about how the seafloor, coastal environments, and coastal hazards may change in the future.
Okay. And then we're going to watch this one, 49 seconds, and then we'll just break this down. There was another one back in the day. I think it's from NOAA. I just don't have time to look at every single bathymetry video you're going to find. It's going to be a problem for them, but watch this one real quick.
Bathymetry?
Yeah, bathymetry. So, as you see here, we're going to lay out the way that we map the ocean floor. And if you pay close attention, what you're going to see is there's something called the abyssal plane there at the bottom. Plane means flat. Yes, that's right. And if you notice, the way that we are measuring this is with parallel horizontal layers. Similar to how if we wanted to measure the elevation of this island, we would measure a vertical distance above the horizontal baseline, that is the surface of the water. When we want to start to measure the bottom of the ocean, we are going to go down through assumed parallel horizontal layers. Well, the Earth is so big you just wouldn't notice. Okay, here's the problem.
Is bathymetry.
Here's the problem. So, to make sure that everyone fully understands what you do here, let's go back to this little cartoon depiction of it right here.
Transducer emits a pulse of sound into the water column.
Okay, so how are we going to know the depth? You should see my cursor. Okay, how are we going to know the depth difference between right here and right here? Now, this depiction isn't accurate. This dude's on some jet ski or something. They send out boats, right? And they have highly advanced sonar technology. And it spreads out. So I wish there was a little bit of a better visualization. I don't see one. NOAA has a good one, though. But anyway. And it literally pulls it up on the XY axis and it starts to connect all these places over vast distances with horizontal lines. That's how they map it out. Literally. They map out the entire ocean floor as if the Earth is flat. But this is the part that's really a problem. So what happens is you send out the sonar wave. It hits down here.
Which then bounces off the seafloor.
And then it bounces back. Right? So how is that going to tell you what the ocean floor looks like? Well, they're going to time how long it takes the signal to leave the boat, hit the floor, and bounce back up. Knowing the propagation rate, the speed at which the sonar wave will travel through that medium, the ocean water, they know how fast it goes. Well, speed equals distance over time. So if you know the speed and then you can time it, now you're going to know the distance to that place that it hit on the floor, i.e. the depth. The way that we map out the depth is we actually take the duration of signal, right? And we factor that in with the speed of sonar waves of the frequency they're shooting in the medium of the ocean water, right? Okay, well, here's the problem. That is such a highly precise measurement. It's down to milliseconds. We're talking about duration of a sonar wave. We're talking about signals in the ocean bouncing around. So you have to have highly precise measurements, right? Okay, now this is a misleading depiction. the wave goes out hundreds and hundreds of meters. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's up to 5,000 meters. 5,000 meters. So the actual, like NOAA, the National Oceanic Administration or whatever, right? They use technology that can go up to 5,000 meters. That's how they map out. Imagine trying to go out there and map the ocean floor like 10 feet at a time. That's not what they do. Okay. So if you send a signal out straight down and you assume that it's all horizontal, right? If it was actually curving, you would be getting incorrect depths because say that if the boat's right here and you send out a signal, it spans all the way out in all directions, right? And then you're going to detect the signal from back here, from over here. If you assume it's flat and then compare that to the assumption that it's a globe, you're going to get different times. It's like, think about it really simply. If there's a flat ocean surface of the water, and then you have just parallel horizontal layers down to the ocean floor, you send the signal now, it's going to bounce back up. On the globe, as the signal gets further away from the boat, it's going to have to go further and further down because the Earth's curving down and away from the boat. The actual data from NOAA and USGS, all the official data, shows that they do not account for any curvature at all. So they use the precise millisecond duration, like the duration of the signal down to milliseconds, to determine the depth of the ocean, assuming that it's flat. They are distinctly different. Globe Earth and flat Earth are distinctly different in what values you would get, because it would take the signal longer to get to the curved ocean floor, right? Because it's curving away from you. Which means
5,000 meters at a time.
I think so. I think that's like the max. Yeah, 5,000.
Wow, that's awesome, dude.
So this, diameter, I think. So this means that the way that we precisely map out the topography of the ocean floor, so that we can even send submarines and boats in there that they can safely rely on. Again, people's lives are at stake. Is a flat Earth proof. It's a flat Earth proof. It only works if your assumption's correct, because literally the way that you map out the topography will be wrong, right? Like this map right here, denoting the depths based on the colors, this is going to be wrong. You send a submarine out there, they're going to think that this right here is higher than it actually is.
Well, yeah, that's 5,000 meters. That's over 3 miles. So it should show the curve in their little thing. It'd be a very slight curve, only feet.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like that's because the duration is so precise that like a few hundred feet would matter. Like, sure, the curvature rate isn't great, but it's like still there. And also, like the angle at which these signals are reflecting and being interpreted, or like received and interpreted, and the duration of the signal. It's distinctly different than a curved surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
That's awesome.
Everything that we do in the world, bro. Everything that we do in the world. It's so funny, bro. It's like now they could go out there and be like, I don't know, McKeegan or whoever, and they'd be like, no, we know the Earth's a globe, and then people would die. People would crash.
Yeah.
So, pretty interesting.
Oh, well, that's why all the manuals, they say it. All the engineers are taught this way. Everybody who's taught to, work in a field where it's going to have life and death consequences.
Collected
flying
data.
Airplanes, things like that. Yes, it's flat and state and motionless. That's how you treat it. When you're thinking about setting it up and engineering it and all this stuff, that you have to take into account for that, all the different variables. The two you don't need to take into account is the curvature of the Earth and its rotation. Don't even worry about it. They're all taught the same thing.
That's see how
be a hard thing to overcome, as a young engineer. I mean, I get how you could, but just like not thinking about the curvature of the Earth sometimes if you were working on big projects. I mean, you do your job, you just don't take it into account, but just that thought process through your head, like, Shouldn't we be taking the curve into account in this tunnel?
But it would be an
that we're
afterthought,
digging?
right? Like, because your whole life experience is just everything is like the Earth's not moving and it's flat. That's how you live your whole life.
Yeah, true. True.
Yeah, that like you would have to actually interject, and it'd be an afterthought to say, well, wait a minute, actually, since we're talking about greater distances now, wouldn't it be curving? Right? Like, you would have to actually think about it, because if you just went in there just being normal, you would just treat it like
Yeah.
it's flat, and then it would work. That was my experience. Every time I talk to someone from inside the military or whatever, they're like, we just never ever think about it.
They did a good job, you know, programming everyone to not even allow that thought to even come up.
So yeah,
Yeah, that
I
was
think
awesome.
I think it's interesting, and then it gets back into, of course, the way that we measure elevation is vertical distance above that horizontal baseline. So we have layers of the floor, ocean floor. That's how we get depths. The way that we get topography is assuming those horizontal layers, and that's literally how we do the math to determine the topography. That's how we determine the depth and the layers and the elevation. And you take that horizontal baseline that is called sea level, you extend it all the way into the interior of a continent. So, like, how do you determine sea level in Kansas? Right? And so, like, you take the sea level that is literally just parallel horizontal layers, and you extend that horizontal line all the way to the middle of a continent, and then you measure a vertical distance above it. Like, think about that, bro.
That's well, yeah, because even on, you know, it's not a perfect sphere the way in their own model. So you can't say, well, you just measure it from the center. It's like, well, no, because the whole sea isn't level the same distance from the center. So you'd have to take that into account. Yeah, their model makes it so much more nonsensical and impossible. But yeah, you ask a surveyor, oh yeah, it's a straight line. We draw a straight line all the way across. Like you said, you go over to the spot, measure a vertical from that line, there's your elevation.
Yeah, like we can see how they're doing. Like, it's like draw the straight line up, and then you go over, and that's how high the plane is. It's like, okay, so what about when this line right here, which really there's a line right here that you measure a distance above, what happens when that extends hundreds or thousands of miles inland? Is it straight the whole time? The answer is yes, literally. You have to treat it like it's completely flat and straight and horizontal the entire distance. So, anyway, just tagging on to the battle of the beams type idea, but obviously the initial presentation is extremely damning with very specific, undeniable application. And we discovered why we had to attack Germany. So, little did you know you were going to learn some history on GLOBEBUSTERS today. Well, all right, cool. Anyone else have anything they want to throw in?
No, I was looking for, I think it was Flat Water. Do you know that channel? He was doing videos on the Sparrow missile system and the pencil beam laser that they use. I'm going to try to find that so I could drop it in chat. He's had so many channels taken down, though. I'm not sure if it's even still up on one of his channels. I know the old Mark Sargent from Strange World. Maybe it was on Strange World. No, I think they were just the interviews. I'm sure he's got a playlist on his channel, all his specialty experts that he was asking for back in the day that would come on. One of them was on the Sparrow missile defense system.
Yeah, it's just like some of the specific details of that are classified. Here's Here's a good depiction. You see that? So, I mean, we're on the globe. As you get further out from here, the Earth curves down and away from it. You cannot just treat it like it's evenly distributed from a horizontal baseline down parallel layers like that. Can't do that. It would be different. It would objectively be different. So.
Yeah, that was awesome. I didn't know that they did it at that wide of a distance. That's huge.
I'm about to try to find the exact number again.
Let me see what this one.
All right, cool. In a second, we'll check the donations. So we're going to check the donations one more time if anybody wants to get one in last minute. And do we have a Flattoberfest video?
I can pull up the latest one.
Yeah, I can do that. Karen B's channel, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah, Flattoberfest. It's coming up soon. A little over a month away. September 27th, 28th, and 29th, Spartanburg, South Carolina. The music camp, first outdoor and last Flat Earth Festival. This will be Karen's last. Let's make it a good one. Gonna have some new toys there. I think you'd have fun with one of these Chladni plates, Austin. It's neat. You can make frequencies or patterns with real low frequencies. Like the stuff in a lot of the manual or the papers that people write and whatnot. It seems like they don't play, if that's a good word. Like just test it out and see they go to the exact frequencies that they're told, and like if you look at images online, it's almost like they're all the same patterns. They all pick out certain patterns and they all just keep recreating the same stuff, and there's so much more in it. Yeah, there's ones that are perfectly symmetrical, but there's a lot more patterns in there. The ones that aren't perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
why
neat.
that's why I find Tesla machines for healing very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Like get your body into a more of a symmetrical frequency. Let's check out Flattoberfest video. If you don't know, that's towards the end of next month. So,
We will both be there.
Indeed. So let me play that real fast, and then we'll come back, and then we'll read
You gonna be doing
donations.
karaoke?
I don't sing, bro.
Oh, I wanted to see your rap in the Reuben's Tube.
Well, maybe I
Austin's
would-
voice and actual fire.
Maybe I would rap something.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, let's play this, and then we're going to go check the donations. If you want us to read any specific donations, get them in the next few minutes, and let's check it out. Wait. There we go. Very cool, very cool. September 27th through the 29th. And you go to flatearthfestivals.com to get your tickets. And you saw the speakers there. I'll be speaking. Zack and Cami will have How the World Works.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one this year. I get to bring fire and make more noise, turn up the Tesla coil a little bit higher. I'll have some room, not all these electronics around me that I can zap. I think you were at the one when we were in downtown Spartanburg, and every time I would zap the discharge wand to the Van de Graaff generator, all the lights in the building would flicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to really tone everything down when we were there. That was wild. Yeah, this one's going to be awesome. Hope to see you all there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's go through some of these super chats here. We got Run Boston Bear. Crushed it in the debate. Or crush it in the debate. What's it? Good to hear the ladling. Alan, Zach, join us on EtherCause Discord. They want you to join them.
Nice.
Thank you for the
I can do that.
Nice, Ether Cosmology. Thank you for the $25 Run Boston Bear.
Much love, brother.
Eric R, thank you for the $10. Dakota Dunn.
Thank you, Eric.
Great presentation today. Thank you. Very generous. $100. Wow.
Thank you, Dakota.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Alan crushed per usual. Straight to the point. Thank you so much. That's very generous. That helps us reach our goal. So thank you. Benji Boodles. Really appreciate you guys. You helped me wake up to FE several months ago, and it's greatly deepened my relationship with the Creator and the Bible. Hey, salute.
Excellent.
Thank you for the $20. And that is why I do this. All right, Ziohi. Thank you. I don't know how to say it. Do you know how to say it?
No.
Thank you for $25 on Ko-fi. A bit off topic from beams, and you've likely been asked it a lot, but what is your take on what shooting stars and meteors are? Drop the YouTube link. I know we can't know 100%, but it looks like something scraping the firmament to me from inside or out. I don't know. I think it looks like electrical discharges is what I think it looks like. A lot of meteor showers are the vast majority of them can be called sporadic meteor showers, which come from 6 radiant sources cyclically, repetitively, over and over, which doesn't really jive with what they told us, but they look like electrical discharges in the layers above us.
Yeah, I could see that. For all you UFO, outer world people, what if it's a holiday? Because it always happens the same time of year according to our calendar. And I know I get it. We're in that part of the sun's yada, yada, yada orbit at that time of the year and all that stuff. I get the geocentric model or the heliocentric model nonsense excuse. But what if there are, beings that can travel real fast from one spot of the plane to the other? And these are like holidays. I don't know, just a thought. One of those crazy conspiracy theory things, but I don't think we're the dominant species on this plane. That's just my opinion.
No, it's very interesting. Definitely an ancient idea that there is some type of sentient beings in the sky above us. Definitely not the way that they've described it, but who knows? Yeah, maybe it is something actually traveling. This is a very interesting idea. November, I saw you in Fuentes X Space the other day. Thoughts on Nick and the Groiper War? I think he's pretty hilarious. Yeah, I got no beef with him. I think he's definitely intelligent. He articulates himself well. I disagree with him on things, of course, but and the Groiper War, I think it's anytime that someone's young trying to make big moves and push people around in terms of politics or on the world stage, I consider it all political theater, so I think it's cool to watch people kind of react to public opinion. So yeah, That's about my tank. Thank you for the $10, November. I think we are caught up on Ko-fi. Thank you guys for everyone that supported on Ko-fi. You helped us reach the goal. Let me switch on over to Rockfin real quick. No, it's trying to hate on me. All right.
Yeah, there was one over on Rockfin. One more, I believe. Let me make sure. And always supporting us. Murray Cole tipped $50. Said, I missed the last several episodes
No,
live.
trying to hate on me. Sorry.
Watched them later, and I enjoyed every episode. Thank you, Murray. Big supporter of the channel.
Yeah. Thank you so much, brother. Cool. Well, all right. Appreciate you guys for that. I think we'll double chat the super chats. Joe Mama gifted 20 GLOBEBUSTER memberships.
Oh, Joe
YouTube.
Mama, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for the support. All right, we got some members in the house. Stick around. Keep your membership. And Ziohi, I would like to think that you would be telling me if I was butchering that, but $5 on YouTube. By the way, is there anywhere to see old vids of GLOBEBUSTERS / Schooling Globers? Lots are missing from Rumble / Rockman, etc. I think both of those shows are on YouTube. What's up?
If he's talking about old GLOBEBUSTERS, I know Bob had a bunch of them on old hard drives. I think I might know where they are, but yeah, I've been meaning to try and dig those out and find them. And I just got Jeran's getting ready to leave for 2 weeks, so it won't be for at least 2 weeks. But yeah, we're gonna try to find those old hard drives and get a lot of because he's got every GLOBEBUSTERS ever downloaded. So, but I'll see what I can do about getting some of those older shows back up. Maybe throw them on the 24/7 or something.
Nice, very cool. All right, I don't know if Alan's still here, but we'll go ahead and wrap up, and we'll
just got back.
Oh, nice. We'll be pretty much on time if we wrap up here. So, speaking of, we'll let Alan go first. What do you got coming up this week, bro?
All right, so let's see. Tuesday night we have Man of Stone is going to be presenting on Ether Cause in my channel, where I'll be showing it as well. But anyway, he's going to be doing a tutorial on some video editing software, specifically Inkscape, and then another video editing one. So if you're a flat earther and you're interested in making clips or making your own content or whatever, this will be particularly helpful because this will give you the baseline foundation to get into these video editing programs to start making your own content. Man of Stone makes some pretty awesome animations and stuff. And it's pretty straightforward once you learn the basics. So he's going to be teaching us that on Tuesday. And then Thursday, we'll be doing research and reading night. So we don't have anything specific for that, but we'll be researching and reading something. And then Friday, of course, will be Flat Earth Fridays. So we'll be doing that. And then it resets on the next week. Over and over again, boys.
Nice. All right, cool, man. Thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no worries, man.
We'll just hold our breath until we get a specific rebuttal. All right. Zach, what do you got coming up?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can catch me over at Iron Raw Media here on the YouTubes or freeworld.fm. It'll be, that's the AM, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 a.m. Eastern. It's an early bird show. And then Friday afternoon in the evening, about 6:37-ish, there's another show over there. And then Thursday night, we'll have GLOBEBUSTERS Tech. I'm feeling a lot better. Yeah, that was a nasty little bug I caught, whatever or however it works. I was flushing out some nasty stuff, I should say. Got some ideas on that I wanted to run by you, Austin, see what you thought about it. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, feeling better. We'll have a show this week for sure. And yeah, that's what I got coming up. Oh, if you're looking for children's books for anyone that have nothing to do about sexuality or anything like that, I have 6 books out. Well, 5 books out. 6th one should be out end of the week. Over on Amazon, just search Zachary Zabala, Zabala, and they'll pop right up. It's called the Y series, and it's all about inspiring children to look around at their surroundings and, witness things happening. Just observing. Like if you look at the sky, you'll see the moon do this, or the sun. There's, the sun, the moon, the stars, the rain, the bees, and the trees I've done so far. But just little children's books, nursery rhymes, real big colorful pages, not a whole lot of words. Great for beginner readers. Yeah, check that out. Thanks.
Nice. Very, very cool. And I have a debate tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on Modern Day Debate, heliocentrism versus geocentrism, against Daryl or something. So it just is what it is. And I think that's the guy that totally deflected talking to Alan, was like, what about this footnote about a third order of magnitude? This goofy. I think that's it.
What about the... Oh, that's Daryl. Dude, that'll be an awesome debate, man. Good luck.
Yeah. And I think I might have Brother Nathaniel back on this week for a follow-up. That's going to be pretty interesting. Don't want to miss that. I'm going to have another guy on this week named Donnie Discerns on X. Has an interesting take on the entire JQ, and I want to just kind of give everyone different angles, kind of figure out what's going on. So I think that's pretty interesting. I may be doing what some people are adamantly hoping I don't do, and some people are consistently saying I should do, a stream with Will Duffy about the whole Antarctica thing. So I think that's going to be this week. And then I want to do a stream called Endgame, where I'm going to break down a pretty interesting gravy-filled idea about what I see may be happening, and how a lot of what I thought was going to happen in 2015 or 2019 may still be the case. So definitely check that out. It's going to be a crazy, crazy stream. So I think that's kind of what I got coming up this week. I got a few other things I'm working on that I'm not announcing yet, but there is that. All right, cool.
Nice, brother.
And follow me on
quick.
X.
Oh, sorry.
Just follow me on X. I'm typically pretty active there.
Yeah, I saw you got the GLOBEBUSTERS X up there too.
That's right.
awesome,
Yes,
man.
the GLOBEBUSTERS at the GLOBEBUSTERS on X.
Oh, and real quick, I just wanted to mention, I forgot, Cami and I are going to be on the Tinfoil Sombrero here in about an hour. Lowry in the chat has been dropping it in the chat. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about how the world works, the demonstrations we're going to be showing at Flattoberfest. If anybody's interested.
Nice. Very cool. All right, man. Well, cool. Thank you guys for kicking it. I'm going to play the outro.
Cool.
Or the intro as the outro. So, thank you guys for kicking it. Be kind to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind because there's truth inside. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
You don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye-bye, moonlight and rover. Now, sis, so mediocre. Sorry, but you're piecing up the puzzle. Need to bust your bubble, evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down, be humble, got the body by the fumble. You'll get mad, cause I just fight about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got your evidence. Arrow slaying Jesuits and Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your resident is heaven sent. I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye bye, moon man and rover. Narcissists so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth